Get thee off my computer! So last week I was challenged to play Daikatana for the show, and I can definitely confirm that the only good thing about it is when you decide to quit playing it. So now here we are a week later, and I need something to take my mind off of that mess. And Minna! To cleanse the damage to one's mind caused by a game such as Daikatana, there is only one thing which I can think of that is truly up to the task. A freaking adorable T-Rex with rocket boots! Rawr! Konnichiwa mina, orewa Jimidai, and I'm not entirely sure yet, but I think I may have found a new unofficial mascot for the channel. I mean, look at him! He's just so freaking kawaii! Anyway.
This is JumpJet Rex, developed and published in 2015 by Tree Fortress Games, who only seem to have made one other game, an RPG called Barbarian. You play as Rex, the very first Dinonaut, because as we all know, the dinosaurs had a thriving space program before they were wiped out by an asteroid. Or were they? You see, as you travel from planet to planet, you get a distress call saying that an asteroid is headed to Earth, and you have to return to Earth to find a way to stop it. In the meantime, what exactly are you doing as you travel from planet to planet? Well, the game is a take on classic 8-bit platformers, so as you might expect, you're just trying to get from point A to point B. But let's not forget, you're not just a T-Rex. You're a T-Rex with jet boots, so you're not really jumping from platform to platform so much as you are flying. True, you could move on a platform, but you don't walk, you just sort of slowly hover, further putting emphasis on the fact that this game is all about aerial maneuvers. In each level, you have to fly through a certain number of rings in order to unlock the exit, and there are checkpoints along the way in case you die. Also, in the vein of series like Donkey Kong Country and Crash Bandicoot, many of the levels have out-of-the-way teleport pads, which will take you to a bonus stage, where you can gain a crapload of coins. What are the coins for? Well, we'll get to that later. The approach you take in getting to the end of each level will likely vary depending on which of the game's 3 modes you play. Adventure mode is your standard platformer mode. There are 3 stars available to collect in each level. One you'll get simply for getting to the end of the level. The second you get for beating it without dying, or more accurately, without using checkpoints, because you can restart the level from the beginning and still get the no death star. The third star you get for crossing the finish line under a certain time. The next mode is Rage Quit Rex. You've got 3 lives and 3 lives only, and you've got to try to get through all the levels in the game on just those 3 lives. The levels have no checkpoints, and your progress doesn't save, but on the brighter side, there's only 1 star to worry about getting in each level. Lastly, there's Speedrun. Once again, there's only 1 star in each level, but the checkpoints are back in this mode. The whole point is to try and beat the game as quickly as possible. There's a clock running throughout the game in this mode, and it won't stop until you collect the final star. When starting a new game, after choosing which mode to play, you can select either easy or normal difficulty, the only difference being the number of hits you can take before dying. As befitting a classic-style platformer, Rex has a very basic set of moves, most of which involve the use of his jet boots. You can propel him upwards, either constantly or for a short jump, depending on what key you press. You can also perform what is known as the butt drop, which allows Rex to descend more quickly than normal, useful for speed stars or speedrun mode. Wrapping up the maneuvers, you can have Rex dash in a straight line to get across wide areas quickly. You can also stop yourself mid-dash by performing one of the other maneuvers if you feel you're about to hit a hazard. He has no real attacks to speak of. The closest he has is the tailspin, but it feels more like defense than offense. Something to be used as a last resort because you should really try to avoid enemies if you can. Now to how you actually perform those maneuvers, the controls. The game can be played with keyboard alone, keyboard and mouse, or a controller. Having played with all three methods, I'd have to say the controller is definitely the most preferable method. The movements just seem to be more natural and fluid to me. If you don't have a controller handy, however, go with the keyboard and mouse and you should be fine, though it might make going for speedruns just a little bit more difficult. You can use W to propel upward, S to butt drop, and A and D to change direction. While on the mouse, the left button jumps, the right button dashes, and the middle button performs the tail flip. Controlling the game with just the keyboard feels a little bit awkward to me, and while you can fix that by rebinding the keys, there's still another problem, and that is the menus don't work properly when navigating them with just the keyboard. Checking off another box in the classic platformer checklist, there are coins scattered throughout each level. If you collect them fast enough, you start building up a coin multiplier, which goes up to 4 times. You can use these coins here in shops, where you can buy different heads, color schemes, boot colors, and jet stream colors with which to customize your Dino Knot. Among the many heads you can equip on Rex, there are several knots to various other video game characters such as Sonic, Mega Man, and yes, Scorpion. Now, as fun as the various video game nods are, that's all you can buy with coins. They don't do anything for you, they're just decorations. The same goes for some of the treasures you find in some of the levels. They're just decorative add-ons for your home base. I feel like there's a missed opportunity here. I think at the very least the adventure mode could maybe use the occasional power-up, either hidden in the levels or available in the shop. Nothing too major. A temporary shield, quicker rocket takeoff for a short time, maybe the ability to stop the clock for a bit in speedrun mode. Just something to give this game just a bit more variety and actually have some practical use for the coins. I mean, hell, even Sonic's early titles had power-ups.
Alright, time once again to break this thing out, the worthiness -ometer. And to figure out where this goes on it, let's take a minute to review some of the pros and cons that I've mentioned and also bring up a couple of new ones. First off, I like the idea of Rex's home base sort of serving as the in-game tutorial. You can sort of explore it at your own leisure and practice your moves, again, at your own pace. I like that. And also, I've mentioned on shows before how I'm not exactly the biggest fan of chiptunes, but some of the tracks in this game I actually kind of like. And there's a jukebox, again, in the home base that you can mess with and listen to. I think it's not all the tracks at once, like at the beginning of the game, but they sort of get unlocked as you play through the game is what I was trying to say, but totally failing. But again, I could be wrong. However, if you find that you like the music, there's a soundtrack available. It's something like $3 or $4, I believe, also on Steam. A little bit of a con that I ran into, worth mentioning. I had failed a bonus level in a particular world, and I was exiting the bonus level and coming back into the main level, while at the same time pressing the restart button, because I wanted to try it again and get all 3 stars on the level and whatnot. But I think pressing the restart at the same time as re-entering the main level may have caused it to glitch to the point where the restart function no longer worked. Everything else did, but the restart didn't. And the only way I could fix that was alt-tabbing out of the game, because escape in the menu didn't work either. So that would be something to watch out for. And really, other than that, nothing else worth bringing up. I mean, I've got all the other pros and cons on the screen, and all things being considered, for the price and what you get for it, I think this thing definitely goes right here. JumpJet Rex is definitely worth every cent, and there is absolutely no reason you should not be going to get it right now. Well, one reason you should not be going to get it right now, and that's because I'm still talking. Honestly. Leaving in the middle of a video. What's wrong with you? How rude. Anyway, when we're done here, go get JumpJet Rex. You can even get the soundtrack if you want. Get it on its own, get it with the soundtrack, or you can get it in a bundle with the other game that I mentioned at the top of the show, Barbarian, because obviously they're made by the same people. Either way you get it, however, JumpJet Rex is one you're definitely not going to want to miss out on.
Thanks for sticking around for another episode of Low Budget Gaming. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you did, maybe signify it by leaving a like, or a comment, or a share, or indeed, a combination thereof, if you feel so inclined. And once you've done that, I've got links to a couple of other episodes of Low Budget Gaming that you might be interested in, and maybe you'll want to give a similar treatment to. And of course, I've got the whole playlist as well, if you want to check that out. Arigatou gozaimasu. Chikai made. Sayonara.